Right, so I've done it again. Hello and welcome back to All For United WC, by the way. Barry's comment, I should not have read that before we went live. That is Barry that replied to you highlighting in the chat, by the way, and I couldn't stop laughing. Hence that thumbnail stayed on screen for ages because I was trying to recompose myself, and as you noticed, it didn't work. So I started laughing as soon as it went. Well, anyway, so yes, we are back-to-back wins, hey? There we go. And as I put on the tweet yesterday, only for the second time in the WSL this season, we've managed to do that. So I'm fully taking that right now. Obviously, as people have already mentioned in the chat, Arsenal dropping points as well. I'm sure we're going to talk about that at some point and how that impacts us in the game on the 17th, which is even more important now at the Emirates. I've got a non-serious question, though, before we actually get onto the game and the serious stuff. Charlie, you're the only one that's probably going to be able to answer this because you were there yesterday. For the first time in however long I've been going, and probably yourself as well, LSV updated the playlist. What do you think on that one?
I'm pleased that you noticed. I did not notice.
Oh wow! Okay.
What were they playing? I remember a few weeks ago when they played. What's the song they always play at the Fellas? Is it Not 19 Forever or something they used to play? I didn't even realise they played that at LSV. Apparently, play that every week.
Oh,
I didn't notice.
Yeah, the Stone Roses song.
I'm really sorry. That's a damp squib, isn't it?
I know. I thought I'd come to you. I thought you'd be really excited about this. LSV have updated them because, especially last week, they didn't play it at all.
No, they didn't. I did notice that the silence.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that's the one. This is the one. Yeah, this is the one. That's the guy. Sorry, Connor. That's really disappointing. Tell us, what was your favourite song?
Charlie and I are so short, we can't hear it from the speakers. It's not really designed for us. It takes
exactly. Especially really sensitive that you mentioned it.
Yeah, I was going to say Sarah's like. Couldn't believe it.
Oh yes, that rings a bell now. They didn't play a little bit of Heather Small, did they?
Yeah, it was updated. And to be fair, I wasn't in the ground at the time. But Mia's done a TikTok about this. They were cutting it off after they were playing like a minute of a song and then cutting it and then playing another, cutting it. It was whoever that DJ was. I think needs removing and updating. I think, but yeah, updated playlist. Who'd have thought after 4.5, 5 years, however long. It's been finally we've got a new one at LSV. Maybe that's why maybe they thought because we're having such a poor season they need to change something for this year. I don't know. Should we talk about the game then? Why everyone's here and everything else? There's already been reference in the chat. Wasn't an exciting game, is it? I don't think we're going to be here for ages spilling about how great the game was and loads to talk about. But we obviously do have 2 goals as well. Cerys, I'll start with yourself then. I'll come to, as we usually do, talk about the lineup because I think I said backstage to Charlie. This is the first time, well, it's not the first time, but certainly it feels like a long time since we've seen the same lineup consecutively. Yeah. There's been a lot of changes, back-to-back in games and things like that. But do you think that's a sign of Skinner finally finding the team that he wants to play and the trust in the players and, particularly players like Lisa, who's, he said literally only a few weeks ago, her only problem is herself. Is the only person standing in Lisa's way is her, and now she's playing back-to-back games in the WSL.
Yeah, no, I was going to start with Lisa because I was really like Zellum and Ladd are both obviously like brilliant servants for the club and everything, but there were 2 of those players who you felt had almost become like undroppable, even if there were better options. So to see Nelson be like coming in, I think she's got that kind of creativity and she's got a bit more like directness to her than Hayley Ladd, and she worked to get back really hard as well. So I was really pleased to see that in the lineup again. I think also I've mentioned on the show a couple of weeks ago about us still not knowing our front 3. I think we finally know our front 3, which I mean better late than never. But yeah, I think Geyse down the right was excellent. Parris through the middle. I think that link-up's working really nicely. So I was pleased with the lineup, and it's nice to see us finally getting a little bit of consistency. Although that said, hopefully Riviere has also been a massive part of that consistency. So hopefully her injury's not anything serious. I'd quite like to see her rested in the cup on the weekend because she's picked up knocks in like 3 games now. So yeah, a little bit of rotation needed.
Yeah, I definitely want to come back to Jay because obviously, we're losing her anyway in a couple of weeks if she's going to go away with Canada. So injury or not, she's not going to be available for us at the back end of February, potentially, obviously for Arsenal, West Ham and the likes of. Barry, Barry, for yourself, we were a big advocate on this channel, obviously, of keeping the 11 last year that kept the winning momentum going and things like that. And this season, as we've said, we've seen so many changes, especially in midfield and the forward line, that, you know, it's been chopped and changed, so many different combinations. But now we're kind of seeing, you know, that front three in the midfield, well, pretty much the whole lineup. It seems to be pretty settled at the minute.
It does. I mean, look, consistency is key. People can keep telling me it's not. It's all right if you are a side that has got such squad depth that you're bringing in apples for apples, but sometimes you're not, and you're bringing in apples for oranges. And that was our problem in the Conti Cup last year, that we weren't bringing in players of equal talent. And as a result, it meant we were struggling. So this season, I said the same thing. It's consistency. If you can get consistent results, consistent teams, you learn to play. That's just how it works. So for me personally, 100%, you are going to want a side that is consistent. You can make the odd change. Of course you can, without making too much of a drama. We're going to need to, because, as we said, Rivier's either off to the Gold Cup or A&E, so just kind of one of the two. So we'll just have to wait and see which one it is that she ends up at. But, yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't. This idea that you're going to change lots of people, it doesn't really work well. And it's only ever really designed to keep players happy. And I think most players are happy when we win stuff. So for me, I think that's what we'd be trying to do. So I'm a big fan of the fact that we're finding a bit of momentum now, finding some good results. When you do that, it makes sense to try and keep the same sort of team. You'd be, I think, a bit of a nutter to have had the sort of season we've had so far, be changing things about like we have done to try and get these good results. And then when you get them, start changing the team. That would be, I think, stupid is the word I'm going to use.
I think, obviously, Charle, I throw this over to yourself as well, because, you know, as Barry said, they're keeping the consistency going, and we're finally getting, like I said, back-to-back wins for only the second time in the WSL this season. The previous time being Bristol and Spurs back-to-back, and then I think, I can't remember what was after Spurs, but we definitely didn't win it after that. So, like I said, we've not had a run at, whereas last season it was like, yeah, win. One loss to Chelsea, then another load of wins after that. Look, it was very consistent in that respect. So do you think the fact that we potentially now have found, you know, kind of that midfield trio, if you like, and the front three seems pretty settled as well now? Yeah,
I think so. I think the front six are doing what we need them to do, aren't we? I think the front three is exciting. It's sort of different to what we had last year. We very much had like a target forward, didn't we, in Russo? So it was very much play the ball up to her, she would hold it up. Whereas we're having to attack things, pun intended, a little bit differently now. And I love seeing Geyse out on the right. What an exciting player. And to see the last sort of 3 or 4 goals, her consistently creating chances, but also our players putting them away, which I think shows a development in their ability to play alongside each other. I think we can't take much away from Parris with regards to that. I think Parris is an intelligent footballer, and I think that's why they've linked up so well. And Garcia is the interesting one for me, because obviously she's been sort of known as the super sub, hasn't she? Last season she came on fairly regularly in the latter stages and scored. And perhaps isn't having the assists or goals that she had last year, but I think you can't take away from how hard she works and how much she harries the ball and how busy she is. So yeah, it's exciting, and it's nice to see Lisa get a good run of games. I think we're starting to see the best of her. I don't think we were massively tested at the weekend, so it wasn't the most exciting performance. But with how it's been, I'm just glad. A win is a win, and 2 wins now sets us up really nicely for the game against Southampton, and then the follow up against Arsenal, which is huge now.
I think that's going to be the thing, just keeping the wins. I said that before the Villa game, get 3 wins before Arsenal, get a bit of a run going. So we go into that Arsenal game with a bit more confidence than we had, obviously, after Chelsea and City in the Conti Cup, which is obviously 2 tough games. But again, you're going to feel a little bit low after the season we've had and then losing those 2 as well. So, Karen, I'll come back to yourself, because we started the game. We did this a lot last season, where we started the game really well, got an early goal, and kind of just settled the game right from the off. And, you know, as Charlie said there, the goal comes from, as we've seen a lot in the last few weeks. We saw it against Chelsea, Geyse coming in from the right-hand side. We saw it against City, same thing, right-hand side from Geyse, the 2 goals yesterday. So we'll start with that first one in terms of just how good you think it is the fact that we're finally seeing somebody on the end of these Geyse crossing. The fact how easy Geyse just glides past players.
No, I think it's brilliant, like you say, that we've got, because like Charlie was saying, we can't attack the same way as we did last season, where we had that sort of like more physical number 9 who can hold the ball up and sort of use it out from the centre like that. Instead, we've got to use that sort of pace down the wings a lot more to get the ball into the centre. And I think Geyse has been, like, I remember saying to you, Connor, in the stands at the Villa game, like, if her passing was as good as her dribbling every time, like, she'd be the best player in the world. And she's excellent. So it's been really, really good, like, over the last couple of games to see her decision making and her passing in the final third, like, I think improve a bit. Because sometimes I've felt this season that the final ball from her wasn't quite there. So it's been really good to see that from her. And also everyone else doing better at, it's two-sided, everyone else getting better at getting on the end of it as well. It was really nice that I think whatever we've been doing in training, we've got more of an idea of how we want to score goals. Like that link up coming from down the right, Geyse driving past some players, coming inside, laying it off to Toon on the edge of the box or Parris in the middle. I think like the fact that we have an idea of how we want to score is really helpful, because we looked like we just sort of had we had a lot of players who could be creative and a lot of players who could finish, and none of them were. So now that we've got that kind of like that bit more of like attacking identity, I think is really helpful.
No, for sure. Obviously, just very quickly on this question in terms of will they be available, it's very unlikely. I think United are trying, but I don't think they're going to be very successful in that. But it does also mean that Arsenal will be without Fox, Lacasse. What's the keeper's name? I can't think of a name off the top of my head. One of the keepers. And there's potentially somebody else. Oh, no, Gio's not there anymore, so it's fine. Definitely those two. 3 even. So it's not just doesn't just affect us. Obviously, Chelsea have got a few players that go away as well. But yeah, no, it's unlikely. So we've got a plan without potentially for that one, and that does worry me a little bit with all of our goals pretty much coming from that side. Barry, again, like I said, over to yourself. Obviously, we've spoken so much about Parris in recent weeks, rightly so. The amount of goals she's scored since this season as a whole, but since the turn of the year, she's absolutely on fire right now. But the fact that our goals are coming from that right hand side now, we were pretty critical of Geyse down the middle. That end product wasn't quite there. But now we're seeing it. We're seeing Geyse beating players and getting crosses in, and Parris is the one on the end of it.
I think this is what we were seeing, is that Geyse has got the ability to absolutely terrorise anybody in the defence. And that's exactly what she's done. You looked at her down that right-hand side, I actually felt sorry for the left back, because that's just got to be one of the world's worst situations to be in, to see Geyse just coming at you. And I think for me personally, what I find, really quite interesting is that she can go either way. So she can go right, she can go left. They don't know what way she's going. And because they don't know, it's like that she's coming in. She's going down the right, she's going to cut inside, she's going to pass the ball to someone. But because you've got no idea which way she's going, they're frightened to give away a penalty, because they know she's got that skill and she's got that ability. And I think that's kind of where we are with her this season. So I think Skinner's noticed that. Noticed that her build-up play is better, her ability to be out there and take players on is better, but that her final product hasn't quite been there. And as a result, it's working. What I really agreed with Cerys, and I thought this was a vital point to make, is that I don't think it's just about Geyse not having the final product. I think it's about other people now knowing what she's going to do and actually actively working into getting into better positions. This is what I was trying to say about Nikita Parris and the Player of the Month trophy last week, is that she's doing that. None of them are worldies, but for every single one of them, she's found herself in the right place. She's making the right movements to be in the place where the ball is going to go. And that's what you want from your striker. It's what Leslie Russo didn't do enough of, because she could work hard, she could win a ball, but she always had to make it hard work. She would have to try and turn a player and have a shot, or cut herself into the box herself. So, no, I think that Geyse is perfect on the right-hand side, and Nikita Parris is just absolutely unbelievable. And I think the more the players get used to what she's doing, excuse me, the better. Because what we're seeing from the other players, there was one where Katie Zellum was in on the penalty box, and Geyse came in, did the same thing. She didn't have the ability at that point to get in front of the defender. So I think it's that understanding, the second goal especially. Parris moves into where the space is, ball comes to her, and it's a goal. So I think it's working brilliantly, and I imagine it will carry on like that because defenders just don't know which way she's going to go and how she's going to do it. So good stuff.
No, I think you're right, isn't it? I feel like Geyse has been doing that all season, really, and I think she's maybe taken a bit more flack than she needed to. She's been playing that ball. She's been beating a player and playing the ball into the box fairly regularly, but there has been no one there. Or I think we've talked about every single player seems to want to make the late run into the box, rather than having, I think Kerry talked about, an actual proper attacking approach where people kind of knew what their role was. So someone's approaching the front post, someone taking the back post. I think we saw Nalsund a couple of times make late runs, sort of dragging players out of position, which then creates that space between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot, which Parris then takes up. And I think there was another time as well, wasn't there, when two of them was on the edge of the box, and if she hadn't had a calamitous fall, she probably could have had a goal as well. So it's that for me. Geyse can take on anyone. I love that photo of her. I think it's against Villa with 10 players around her. But we just needed our players, or the right players, playing alongside her who could anticipate what was going to happen and who were willing runners and willing to do the dirty work of dragging players out of position by making early runs and late runs. And that's what we're seeing now. And I agree with what Barry says. Like, we've always needed a forward who was going to be in and around the penalty spot, a bit like a little P, a Chicharito, who was always going to be in and around the penalty box and going to score sort of the scruffy goals and be where you needed them to be at the right time. And Parris is doing that. And considering she was the worst signing anyone's ever made in history 2 seasons ago, she's been phenomenal. And she's feeding off Geyse, isn't she? She knows Geyse is going to beat a player. She knows she's going to play the ball in. So she's like, I want to score goals. That's my job. So I'll be in the right place at the right time. So just brilliant link-up play. I'm really pleased. And I just wanted to stick with that now. Maybe sometimes play Mallard with them. That's what I'm desperate for. But yeah, it's looking really promising, I think.
That's my ideal front three. Mallard off the left, Parris down the middle, and Geyse off the right. I'd love to see us try that. Obviously, I know it sounds like he's managing Mallard's fitness, obviously coming back from her own little injury that she had, so I can see that. But yeah, I'd love to see that front three. I think it'd be exceptional out there. Yeah, and see, I love it when I was trying to find this, so I remember saying it because obviously she did this little 360 spin, and then Parris picked it up and took it around Patterson again, and I was just like, I turned around to Mark, and I was like, I love it when she does that. And obviously, there's a little bit of thing of like, oh, I wish she wouldn't do that all the time, because obviously it doesn't always work, and then we lose possession, and we're on the back foot again. I love it, the fact that she's got the confidence to try things like that, and yeah, I might make a little. If I've got time later, I might actually go back and try and find every time she beat the fullback yesterday, because it felt like a lot. Like she does it a lot anyway, but yesterday it felt like she put in at least 6 or 7 brilliant goals.
She was driving Poppy Pattinson absolutely insane, and that was why she should have got booked, Pattinson, for dissent when she was arguing back with the referee for about 5 minutes, and it was because Geyse was driving her absolutely mental, which is, you love to see it. Yeah,
there was certainly a lot of that. I'm sure we'll get to this in just a second. Obviously, the one just before half time as well. For me, that's Toon is one to me that's got to go on target at the very least, because there's nobody really near it. But the one before half time, where there's like 4 United players in the middle, and one of them got on the end of it, not for me. I just thought I'd bring this comment up because Kevin, full respect to you, because I've just noticed every single show you mention Emma Watson, I feel like you might have you're a big fan. You're a big fan of Emma Watson. You want to see her back as we all do, to be fair. We all want to see her back in a United show. It would have been interesting to see what she would have done this season, actually, had she not have got injured, obviously, right at the start of it. Obviously, I've followed her for a little bit up in Scotland. I have heard very, very good things about her. So hopefully, next season, we do see more of her in the first team and things like that. Yeah,
is actually
would love
playing.
that.
She's just using that time
Oh,
turn.
I hope she plays.
That's all it is. Emma Watson's just using that time turn, and she's actually playing. People don't realise she's not there. And at the end of the season, we'll watch it back. We'll see some of the games like, bloody hell, look at that. She was the one who scored. It wasn't Nikita Parris. It's amazing. That's how the book's going to work.
But yeah, truth, I'm with you on that one. I'd love to see that. As I said a second ago, I'd be extremely worried if we're without her. Because right now, nearly all of our goals are coming from her driving and defenders and putting crosses in. So yeah, that would have been interesting. On that one. Yeah. Yeah, as Cerys just said with Pattinson, it's like it would be frustrating as a fullback when you're constantly getting, because I think Barry, you said this earlier, like the way she's driving most of the time to the byline to try and get a cross in, so she's going that way. So you're always taught as a fullback to show them outside, to kind of anger yourself and to push them out wide. But you see it so often when Geyse is running at you, the defenders like twisting like left and right because they don't know which way, because she's constantly like flicking side to side. Yeah, it's brilliant to see.
I was just going to say, in answer to this question, yes, and it's going to be revealed in the same way as they do for Scooby-Doo. So right at the very end, last game of the season, it's going to rip off the mask, and there it was. So that's it. It's going to be great. Can't wait.
Can't believe it. I want to come back to Jason and Parris. Obviously, we will talk about them obviously when we talk to the second goal. I want to go back all the way back to our goalkeeper, though, because Mary Earps did make a pretty decent save. Probably the only save she had to make. Well, she had to make two. One pretty much straight out of both from Turland, who we did highlight on the preview. On there. But Cerys, the question I've kind of got regarding Mary Earps, it's a clean sheet for her. She's not had too many of those this season. But to me, she seems to be a lot. I don't know whether I'm looking at her, like analysing it a bit too much, but her body language seems a lot more, I guess, happier around United. She's pulling off saves that we saw her do last season, kind of not keeping us in games, but those, not having a lot to do, but when we do need her, she's making those saves now. Do you think there has been almost a switch in her in like the last few weeks?
I think not necessarily a switch, but I definitely think she seemed more. I think when she was, there was a few times where people criticising her for getting angry at defenders and that sort of thing, and I understand that completely. But also, it's sort of the same as when Tooney was going through a poor patch of form, and people recognised it wasn't necessarily an attitude problem or a commitment to the club problem; it was just a form problem. And I think, in my opinion, that's what we've seen with Earps as well. I don't like whether she goes or stays in the summer is obviously a massive question mark, but I think that her commitment to the club at the moment, I can't fault. So I think personally, like, it's really nice to see her kind of get a bit of that enjoyment back in playing football. So like I said, it's obviously not a direct comparison with Ella Toon, but I think in terms of that, like coming back from a period of poor form, I think it's really nice to see.
Yeah, and I think Barry, obviously, we've spoken about this a lot on this channel. Obviously, whatever happens now, she knows that she can go for free in 4 or 5 months' time. So do you think that's potentially it now? Obviously, now we're past all the windows that she could potentially move, that she's just like, well, yeah, I'm either going to try and build my relationships back, obviously, with United, and obviously that's why she's looking not happy. And as someone has mentioned, there was a period of about 3-4 months she didn't say a single word about United. Now, all of a sudden, nearly every post is United related. So it does seem like there has been a bit more of a switch back to being more United based. What's your thoughts on her? Not just necessarily in this game, but just more in recent weeks and her performances, and also just the importance of getting a clean sheet again, because we've not had too many of those this season.
Okay, I don't care, and I think
about the clean sheet.
I care about the clean sheet. Obviously, I care about the clean sheet. You moron. No, care about the clean sheet. That was brilliant. That's not just a Mary Earps thing. That's a Manchester United thing. Everybody has to work towards that. I don't care about the Mary Earps saga. I've been very clear about mine. She's got bridges to build as far as I'm concerned. You can't behave in the manner that she's behaved and just expect people like myself to sit there and go, yeah, all right, no problems. Having said that, her attitude on the pitch is much better. I think we are seeing the Mary Earps that we're more used to seeing, rather than the, should we say, slightly more petulant ones. So in that respect, brilliant. Ultimately, all I care about is players being on the pitch, doing the best they can for Manchester United. The rest of it, not too fussed about. Teddy Sheringham never really got on with Andy Cole and Dwight York quite as much as he would have liked to have done. But didn't matter, did it? Because they scored some great goals. That's all you want. People getting on and doing what they need to do. As far as I'm concerned, as long as Mary Earps is stopping that big round thing going into the big rectangular white posty netty thing, I don't care. That's literally her job. The rest of it I don't care about. I've spent too much time and energy getting upset about it. At the end of the day, she's here till the end of the season. We'll see what happens at the end of the season. So for me, I would still be on the PTJ train. I think she should still be given that opportunity, because I think the way in which she's behaving and representing herself is better. And I think that if we know that Mary's not staying, again, she should still be playing for me. That's the easy one. But as long as Mary's doing the job, that's what she needs to do. Turland had 2 opportunities, really. And the first one was a good save. Don't get me wrong. She didn't have to move very much. She just had to put her hands up and get a good, strong hand on it. And she did that. I felt it was a bit of an overreaction, if I'm honest with you. People going, oh, that was a brilliant save. I mean, just hands up. She didn't have to dive or anything like that. I think Safi Middleton-Patel save was better than Mary Earps', if I'm honest, the one for Watford. But it was a good save. So, I'm afraid I don't really have too many positive things to say at the moment when it comes to talking about Mary Earps. But yes, I'm pleased about the clean sheet. And yes, I hope she carries on doing what she's doing if she's going to play.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I'm intrigued to see how Charlie follows it up, to be fair, because that's about where I stand on this.
Chazza.
Be professional and do your job to the best of your ability at all times, particularly when you're in a privileged position. So she's doing that. That's fine by me. I want to see the Squid play against Southampton at the weekend. That's what I would like to see. But yeah, we've not had to talk about the goalkeeping much. It says sort of she did her job. She went about it quietly. There were no big saves for the cameras, were there? And just got on. Didn't have much to do. And I'm happy. If we don't have to talk about the goalkeeper very much, that means things have gone well.
No, indeed. As true as Barry, there's 2 clean sheets for Saf already for Watford, who were near they still are, near the bottom of the Championship, and their win at the weekend against Birmingham was massive for them. So the fact that she's kept 2 clean sheets already for them is huge. And I was literally chatting to somebody about this yesterday, Barry, when they were talking about the chat. They were saying you're just too quick for the rest of us to keep up with you. with your puns and your little jokes and things like that. I don't even know how to follow that. But yeah. I mean, maybe so. I agree with what Barry said. I'm kind of drawn to the fact whatever happens. As long as she plays well till now and the end of the season, it's what it is. And just cut ties at the end. We don't need to go out looking for replacement keepers and all that, because we've already got a perfectly good one if she leaves anyway. Currently sat on the bench in Fallon, and the way Saf's playing, I'll be bringing her back anyway and moving her to number 2 if Mary is to go. Second half, then, like I said, we're going to go back to Jason to. In fact, no. Before we do go on to that, let's get the small. I don't even know if it's not even a negative because we didn't concede or anything like that. But Kerry, is there a little bit of a concern? I use the word concern that we seem to let the game, I guess, drift after the kind of 25-30 minute mark. It reminded me a little bit of Liverpool just without the 2 goals conceded. We kind of got the early goal, played really well. And then between 35 minutes, I'd say about 55, probably until we scored, actually, nothing really happened. It was a lot of passing around the back. Brighton had a lot of possession. It just kind of just drifted. Do you feel like that? And do you think there's anything to worry about there? Or do you think we just said, right, you have the ball, you're not threatening us, and just kind of let the game play out like that?
I think there was a bit of what you just said about them not posing much threat, so us not being too worried. I thought that out of possession, we looked really organised. I thought our defensive shape looked really good. They had Mikey Harris, their interim manager, was talking after the game about how they passed the ball around really nicely. I was like, well, okay. Like it's nice to pass the ball around and move the ball around nicely, but ultimately they couldn't create anything. They had 4 shots, those 2 Turlin shots on target, and that was really it. Like I think and also I thought initially we were quite good at when we would lose the ball, we would go and press to get it back, and straight away that petered off a little bit towards half time. That was, I think, that period you identified just before and after half time. That was the only point at which Brighton looked like, I thought maybe if that first Turlin goal goes in, we're looking at a slightly different game. And they've obviously got some really quality players. They created a couple of chances, but they weren't especially I didn't feel especially threatened by them. But I do agree that we have this really irritating habit, like I kind of talked about with the Villa game as well, or whenever I was last here. We have this really irritating habit of like scoring and then just sitting on there as if one chance from them couldn't level the scores again. And it's just that kind of like ruthlessness of we don't go in and score goals in succession and like kill off games anymore like we sometimes used to last season. So that is something I'd like to see. But yesterday, to be fair, there was never a point where I was too worried about the game getting away from us.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think because my issue with it in the ground was it was still 1-0 at that point. And as you said, one chance from them. Not that I ever thought they were going to score, to be honest, because Brighton didn't really get into our final third at all. But as we said, that one, when you're hanging on to one, not hanging on, but when you're 1-0 up in a game, they literally, that one set piece, that one ball over the top, the one error from the back line, and they're back in it. So, I mean, yeah, Barry, what do you think it was a case if we let them have the ball a bit more just to kind of take the pressure off us a little bit? Or, Norman saying they're too slow to move the ball? Like, because we've seen this a lot this season. We did it at Villa. I felt like we backed off a lot. Liverpool, we definitely did after the first kind of 20 minutes or so. We seem to have a bad habit of doing this.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Brighton looked like a side that had the stuffing knocked out of them. I think there was still, with the way that it happened and the fact that Mel Phillips was ousted in the manner she was on the Friday, I think there was still quite a bit of emotional residue from that, if I'm honest with you. And that's hard to get rid of when you've got a manager that you like and you're not really sure why it is that this has happened. And as you said on the show, people turned up at Brighton because of Mel Phillips. So the fact that she's not there now, they might be questioning their futures, what they want to do. This is even a club that they want to be at, if they like the structure, if they're happy with the people that they're with. And I think there was a bit of that. So, of course, there's still a good football side in the WSL, for goodness sake. So there was always going to be an opportunity where they would have some time. But honestly, apart from Turland, and I put her down really as having 2 good opportunities, and one of them only happened because Millie Turner was bodied. I think Millie Turner was owned a little bit by Liz Turland on this session, unfortunately. But fortunately, it only happened a couple of times because there wasn't really that much attacking threat. So people are saying we were a bit slower. I think naturally so, because we never really had to get out of a sort of a middle gear because we were never really worried about what it was that Brighton were going to do. I think we had, on this occasion, the ability to go up the gears if we needed to. Just didn't really need to happen. So, I do believe there is a little bit of that within the performance. I think that personally we could have done better, but we didn't need to. And so as a result, it just turned out being one of those games. It was just so comfortable to see out. They didn't really have that many chances. And I am so pleased you've turned up. Like, genuinely. And not because I want to have a dig, but there are people in there like, oh, see, she doesn't turn up when they lose and we're winning. And I knew that wasn't the case. So I'm really pleased you turned up, Imara. That's made my day. It just goes to show that you put your money where your mouth is. So good stuff. And I'm not going to take the mickey out of you at all just because you turned up. So well done, Imara. Well played.
Yeah, fair enough. I did my little wind up on Twitter and I got a few Arsenal fans in my DMs and in my mentions yesterday. If people couldn't see my tweet as a wind up, I don't know what. I couldn't have been any more obvious that was a wind up anyway. Yeah, Mike makes a good point, Charlie. Obviously, we were there. I nearly fell over about 4 times because of that wind. like stood on the end of the row and that gust of wind. I was holding on to Shane at one point. I was like, I'm going to go over in a minute. It was not great conditions, that's for sure. So potentially, yeah, the instruction maybe was keep the ball short, because anything that was going in the air was probably, as we saw, I think in the first half, I think Jade tried to put a cross in and the wind just took it like completely over the top of the bar.
Yeah, we had a few like corners and set pieces, and obviously Zelly wasn't trying to deliver them as she normally would, so it had an impact. I think it's just like it's tough watching it from like obviously people saying that, you know, it looked a bit lethargic or apathetic, maybe the performance, and it can be quite tough when you're watching from home or in the stands, and you're looking at the opposition, you're thinking, well, they're not trying to do anything and they're there for the taking. And in the stands, you do want United to be ruthless. Like last season, you're sort of willing them to show a bit of impetus, really, and it just didn't happen. And it, again, like Barry's right, it didn't matter in the end. But I think people will always worry about 2 seasons ago, won't they, when we kept clinging on to 1-0s and actually we didn't cling on to them. We ended up drawing a lot of games or losing. So there's always going to be that slight concern. But it was just a comfortable performance. And I do wonder if sometimes, it shouldn't be the case, but when the team that you're playing against are having a bad day, so Brighton, obviously, for all sorts of reasons, things, obviously, their build-up to the game wasn't great for them, wasn't what they would have wanted. So perhaps they didn't come out all guns blazing, and when your opposition are a bit not up for it and not sort of causing any problems, it's maybe difficult to get like really amped up for it, and actually you can cruise to a 2-0 win. Why not? I also wonder a little bit if in the second half with Jade going off, we had to be a little bit more careful there. Like Gemma Evans I know it was against City, but she had a torrid time against Man City, like really struggled, and she's very much targeted. So maybe when she came on, it was just a decision that we just be a little bit more compact and sit in and not have any mistakes. And I know like people have talked about Millie Turner a little bit, but as soon as that substitution had to happen, a couple of people around me were like, oh, here's Millie's going to have to do 2 jobs now. And she does. Like, when she's playing alongside Gemma Evans, she's having to do 2 jobs. She's literally coming wide, and she's the one trying to close down their wingers or their fullbacks bursting on. And Gemma Evans is just wandering around like a bit of a headless chicken, really. And then there's gaps behind Millie that everyone's having to go at Millie for. But if Evans isn't going to come for that wide player Millie is, Evans has got to fill in that gap behind. So I wonder if they were just mindful of that, because we were done down that side by City about 40 times, weren't we, midweek? So that might have had an impact as well.
It definitely wouldn't have helped. But I think just very quickly on this question, while you're talking about Rivier's injury, while we're on that topic, we may as well talk a little bit about that. I've asked her, I've not heard anything personally on that, but I will say it didn't look but she walked off okay. She wasn't limping heavily. There wasn't a lot of things like that. So potentially it's just a knock that, you know, she's had knocks in the last few weeks. And that game against Villa as well, they seem to just be targeting her in that game. You know, Lehman clapped into her twice. I think Leon had a dig at her as well at one point. So she's had a lot of rough tackles on her. And if she was already slightly injured anyway, and then I can't remember who was the Brighton player that went into her, you know, it's not surprised. So I don't think touch wood, I don't think it's going to be too bad. But as we said at the start, she's likely going away with she's either going away with Canada, or as Barry said, she's going into A&E, as he said earlier. But you know, so we're going to be without her anyway in the next kind of couple of weeks potentially. Yeah, that wasn't good either on the men's side. Two very good players in the team getting injured this weekend. Yeah, and as Vic kind of just agreeing with there, just saying, yeah, potentially it was just a little bit on that injury.
Yeah, no, I saw something on Twitter, which to be fair, I haven't exactly fact checked, but it said Jade Riviere has been fouled 18 times in 11 games. So yeah, she's been through the walls a bit recently. She was obviously down on the ground at the end of the Villa game, so hopefully, it feels weird to say, but hopefully it is just an accumulation of those knocks rather than something more serious. And my gut feeling is that that's what it is as well.
She'll be fine. The referees will protect her.
It was ridiculous. The Villa game was the worst. Like how many times she got fouled in that game, and then I think it was the 3rd tackle that Lehman did. Finally, she got booked. But yeah, she's certainly been through the wars, is old Jade. she's had quite a few crunching tackles on her. So as I said, hopefully she's all right and she comes back playing for us in the form that she's been in. There was a question a bit further up. Oh no, it was Vic's comment a second ago while we were talking about the away side. Yeah, to be fair, Baggers, I didn't really see a massive reception for her. Maybe that's just because I was late into the ground. But when Thor went off, she walked off right in front of us. Obviously got a great reception. And it just shows, you can leave on good terms if you do it in the right way. And, I had a lot of course, fans of a certain team coming into the All United I mentioned yesterday saying, so why do you boo other players? Well, it's because you leave in the right way. And that's the reception you'll get if you leave in the right way and you come back and things like that.
Really? People were in the comments asking about that.
Have you not seen it?
Oh God, go and cry somewhere else.
Listen, they're a nightmare.
Aren't people
They're
boring?
also, have you seen their current thing they're upset about? Our players don't celebrate with us.
Oh, yeah.
We're there, they score a goal, and then they run away and they don't celebrate with us. And we just sit and we're like, yay, you scored a goal. Why don't you come and say hello? And I'm thinking, because you're a nightmare.
Yeah. No, I think also I've never understood the issue with booing a player. Like, it's the most unbelievably basic kind of. It's not like you're like lobbing coins at it. It's booing. Like, everyone's an adult here. It really frustrates me because I know there's this whole thing about, not to go into the whole wider debate about women's football fan culture, but this whole thing of let's have a marching band and let's cheer for everyone occasionally does my head in. I have absolutely no problem with a bit of booing and animosity between teams. I think it just improves the atmosphere.
Players like it. Like, you've seen the last couple of games that didn't go well for us, but Lauren James milked that for all it was worth. Chloe Kelly milked it for all it was worth. It's part of the game, isn't it?
Especially the Chloe Kelly at Old Trafford. I mean, obviously it is not nice to a United fan to ever have a City attacker like shushing the Stretford end. But, it's good for the game to have that like atmosphere and that rivalry. It's only going to make it more competitive.
As I'm feeling in the mood for it, can I just point out she's not playing as a fake 9, she's playing as a fake striker.
She might reach 9 goals.
Yes,
Maybe.
That's as high as she gets, isn't it? Can't do the double.
And there's Vic said 5. Keats already on 15. Which is, I said on the last show, didn't I? Or a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember when it was,
insane.
that I want Keats to hit, if she could potentially hit 20, that's going to be insane. She's on, I think she will now. 5 away.
I think she's being lazy. She needs to score a hat-trick and she needs to do it within an hour. She needs to get the afterburners on.
You've got a feel for her getting taken off
Get
every
on with
single
it.
time she's on a break.
That's the 5th time that she's come off on a brace now.
You know what, though? No tantrums from her, is there? Off she goes. She'll go, fine, I'll score another 2 next week.
That's the first thing. When Mallard was warming up, I turned to Shane. I thought, that's going to be for Paris, isn't it? Like, straighten up. But obviously, there was triple. Was it triple at the time? I think it was Mallard, Guerrero, and Williams. I think all came on at the same time. It was just like, that's the 5th time now that she's been on a brace and been taken off. And that's forgetting she has already scored a hat-trick for us this season in the Conti Cup against Everton, and that 7-0 win. So, it's just unbelievable the amount of goals she's racking up this season. I'd like to go and watch our show back that we did pre-season, who we thought our top scorer was going to be. I don't think any of us would have said Parris. I don't know who we said.
Geyse.
I have a feeling somebody said Goldson. I think I said Geyse.
She'll be our top sister.
I can't remember. I'll have to go back and watch that one. Indeed. And what's in the WSL 8, I think, in the WSL. So, yeah, I don't think she's going to challenge Shaw and James for the Golden Boot. But if she can get in the top 5, that's incredible, I think. For a player that was playing out wide until a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, she did. I don't think she's going to hit that, unfortunately.
Negative Nelly.
Yeah, she might be just a few short on that one. Imara, I'm going to ignore that because I see it.
Ignore it because I'm telling you, I reckon she's going to score the winner against Arsenal.
I was saying to somebody in the run after the game yesterday, the Arsenal game is set up for two things. It's either set up for a Parris winner or a Russo winner, and I really hope it's the first one.
Just imagine.
It's gonna, I can't wait for that. I'm so excited but so nervous for that one because our season doesn't ride on it, but it's equally important.
I can already see it. It starts off, Leslie Russo gets the first goal. She's feeling really, really good because she's put Arsenal ahead. She's giving it the big one, that's it. And she's a bit, like that at the United fans, giving it the old Leon treatment. And then all of a sudden, Geyse just fools everybody, cuts in from the right-hand side, actually shoots and scores, just wanders past Leslie Russo, casually showing her the 23 and telling her that's what a real 23 looks like. And then Nikita Parris, she just runs past Jonas Eideval in the 91st minute going, hello, not good enough, thank you very much. While there's just limbs everywhere and Shane jumps on your back because I won't be there, Connor. So you can be the sausage of Shane today.
I've got Jess and Rob Kenton next to me, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully similar scenes at the Emirates as we saw last season. To be fair, we do laugh and joke about obviously Keats going off at brace. This was later in the game. This was the 78th, 80th minute by the time she went off, and he's probably got one eye on Arsenal and obviously next week as well, potentially. Because a lot of people, I think, are underestimating Southampton. They give Arsenal a good run, not so long back. They're a semi-decent side, doing well in the Championship. It's not going to be as easy as people think on that one.
You said that about Newcastle.
That's why I'm saying it again. Plant the seed early. I get the feeling, Jesse, you're a Chelsea fan by saying that. You're either Chelsea or City because you're saying so that they can't be in the title race, and you're saying you. So you've got to be Chelsea.
Or Villa. Maybe it's Villa. Maybe it's Carla Ward.
I've had enough of them.
Oh, God. We've got an offer as well.
Who's Keeks? Called her Keeks twice. At first, I wasn't sure if she was having a joke at somebody, but she clearly means Keats on this one. The K must be near to the T. No, it's not. She's miles away. Too many beautiful lines on the beach, I think.
It'll be autocorrect. Autocorrect. I hate it. It's so arrogant.
Possibly.
It doesn't step in when you need it to. And when you don't want it, it does what it likes.
I think she's got a friend called Kiki, and rather than writing Kiki, she calls a Keats. What, Keats? Must be. Because other than that, it's not a word, is it? I don't want to Google
it. Must be.
I'm worried about it.
I'm going to look now. It must be a word. I'm looking.
And see, that is comment of the night, that is.
Oh my gosh, it's a word. Now,
what does it mean?
So it's a bit dialect. It's an intransitive verb that the Scots and the Northern English use, which means to peep or look furtively.
Well, I'll tell you what, she's looking furtively.
I'm having a quick peek in there. I'm having a peep.
She looks furtively at the goal scorer of this, that's for sure. She's getting to the top of it. She's keeking away. Glad you Googled it. I wasn't touching that with a barge pal.
And yes, Jesse did confirm Chelsea fan. Not surprising.
Is she related to Judge?
Just nothing to say on that.
Just asking.
I can't remember what the original question was. We've been just divulging for the last 20, 30 minutes. I don't even know what questions I got left. Have we spoke about the second goal? It's very similar to the first.
Should Leah Galton play at fullback if Jay Rivier's injured? That's the question. That's all I've been thinking about for about 29, 30 hours.
What, rather than Evans?
Yes, absolutely.
I think
All
no.
clearance is going in.
I think depends on the
She's coming down,
situation.
she's just sticking with it.
But I think we can't there is absolutely no point in having our second choice fullback and playing our second choice left winger at fullback instead of our second choice fullback. It depends a bit on the situation, but I think yesterday, when we looked relatively sort of comfortable in the game, I think it was the right call to bring Evans on and try to develop her a little bit. But I don't know. What do I know?
Honestly, don't know what he's going to do that one. I think just get Galton and Evans in like a boxing match, and they can fight it out. Whoever wins or whoever loses has to play fullback, and the winner gets to play in their actual position. Maybe we'll do it that way. Let's see who comes out on top.
When's Aoife Mannion back?
That's got to be soon.
Hopefully. Yeah, I saw updates. She's back in. I don't know if she's back in full training, but she's definitely back in at least some training. So fingers crossed we'll be seeing her again really soon.
Because this is screaming for a pop her back in just for the Arsenal game again, like last time.
I'll play her in the match last year. She came in for
Yeah,
that one
she's
game
colossal.
against Arsenal, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no. Let's not do that, shall we? Poor Evans. She always gets brought. It's not her position. We said this last week, so I don't know. I don't want to go massively off the game, but is she? Are we on about Evans here? I'm assuming. Oh man.
I'd maybe put Hayley Ladd as fourth choice centre back.
Well, she plays there for Wales, so alongside Evans. So, maybe that'll be our partnership next weekend.
I've said this before. The centre backs are not the issue.
No.
Like the bit that's frustrating about all of this is that we are again just talking about which centre back draws the short straw and has to pretend to be a fullback. It's just not fair. It's just not fair. It's really not.
Oh, Barry's upset.
Well, it's terrible. Like during January, a mate of mine said to me, what position do you think we need to strengthen the most? And I said, what starts with an F and ends with a K? And he said, no, it doesn't. Fullback, in case you was wondering, and we need one. The only way I can keep happy right now is rubbish dad jokes like that, because I'm not going to lie, it's really upsetting me now.
Oh, do you know what? Your ability to sit through that length of awkward silence is how I would know you were a teacher if I didn't already know you were a teacher. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let them think a little more.
100%. And I still think Mel Letitia should go right back, Hannah Blundell left back, and stick two centre backs where they belong. So there we are.
I did tweet pretty much immediately after Jade Riviere went off yesterday. In a good job, we didn't waste any money in the transfer window by bringing in another defender. It was just I agree with you completely in that we shouldn't be obviously you want your defenders to have a bit of flexibility, but you can't criticise centre backs too much when they're playing in what is not their position.
Mm. No, but it's criminal. Exactly. Even with new owners, it is criminal. It is criminal that United, a club of United stature, are in this position where another defensive injury would just be catastrophic. It'd be verging on 2 seasons ago, wouldn't it, when we were in the situation we were with the centre backs all being injured. But fingers crossed, she's not too badly injured, and she sacks off the Gold Cup or whatever it's called. What's it called? Yeah, the Arnold Clark. What's she going to?
Yeah, you're right. Gold Cup.
The Gold Cup.
Yeah.
I actually owe Mark Skinner an apology. I'm always one to hold my hand up when I should do, because I said last week I was really annoyed about this statement. Where was it? Where's he gone? He was just there. There it is. TJ put it in there. And it was a really annoying sentence. And I said that actually there's nicer ways to put it. He should be able to say, players weren't available that he wanted, that sort of thing. And actually, when you read the whole press conference, he did say that. I only saw this sentence. So he could have just left this sentence out. He's still a bit of an idiot for saying it. But I do owe an apology because he did actually say the other stuff as well, that the players weren't available. So I apologise, Mr. Skinner, but well done, because you do seem to be listening on the other things. So good. Keep listening.
Just a couple of comments before we go back to the serious part of the game. This always makes me laugh, Ron. I did say this. So when she came on yesterday, somebody said this. I was like, you do realise she's younger than most of the players in our squad.
She's not even 30.
She's mid-20s, isn't she? She's like 26, 27.
No.
I'm sure she is. She's not old at all.
Not Benjamin Button. Let's have a look.
She's 27. That's what I mean. She's younger than a lot of the players in our squad. So yeah,
yeah, 27.
Is this a bit like Miedemar?
What do you mean?
Gigima. Like, I don't even know what that stands for. What the?
I'm just going to leave it with that.
What do I want to say about it? What does it stand for? Something?
I think she's trying to say grandma and then just spelt it wrong. Oh, right, okay.
No, it's like Brangelina, isn't it? But Gemma and Grandma. Is that it?
People are actually calling her grandma from the stands.
Someone shouted it yesterday.
She won't know. She might just think it's someone shouting for their grandma.
Well, she will now if she watches this.
She will now, yeah. That was for me. What is it, the hair? That's ridiculous.
But she's not, is she? She's 27.
Exactly. Should we move on before we get ourselves in trouble here?
Listen, we're not calling her grandma.
No.
You brought it up, Connor.
Yeah.
Oh, hang about. No. Don't be.
I'm going to the different subject.
There's been enough jokes about that in the earlier comments. I left it. Thanks to you. I don't even know what else to ask on the game, to be honest. Second goal. Anyone? Oh, bloody hell! I can't even get my words out now. Has anyone got anything to add on the second goal?
There's not much about it that we didn't already say about the first goal, to be fair, because they were largely the same thing. So yeah, it was a nice goal.
Yeah.
Coffee. She just played it across the goal, didn't she, rather than directly Keats. But yeah, nicely taken goal.
That's the one that does it. It's the movement. Like, she's just over on the side next to this person here, and she just moves. Perfect.
I love a goal that results in like the opposition keeper like scrabbling, like crabbing along the goal line, trying desperately to claw out. Yeah, she got nowhere near, did she, Baggers?
A player that we'll briefly talk about, because people at the start were saying that why isn't Lisa on the player of the match poll? And there was a bit of chat about it earlier on, and TJ saying that Lisa was key to. I was just watching it back to see what she actually did.
Makes a run, doesn't she? Creates the space. I think did we talk about it before?
You mentioned at the start about her late runs into the box. She doesn't on the second. She's on the edge of the box. Not
Letitia. Because it's Letitia ball through to Geyse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Letitia to Geyse and obviously Jason to Parris. So it must be before that. And when this highlights, I can't see it on the highlights on that. But yeah, I can't remember back. My memory doesn't go back that far. But yeah, did we think Lisa had what do we think on Lisa overall then when we're on the topic of her? Because I said Mark Skinner came out and said that the only thing standing in the way is Lisa. Since then, we've seen her start 3 games. I don't think she was exceptional yesterday. I think she had better games.
I don't think anyone was exceptional yesterday, though. I think she was quieter than the 2 previous games. But then I think the midfield generally were fairly quiet. Like we said, there was very little threat, wasn't there? There whereas against the likes of sort of City and teams like that, Lisa has a big job to do in sort of pressing quite high up, doesn't she, trying to win the ball back. But we were quite sort of happy for Brighton to knock the ball about at the back. Their manager loved that, didn't he? So he had a nice time. So yeah, she was fine. She was good. I think that's his 3, isn't it? She's forced her way in, which is really good. Obviously stepped up to the challenge.
I just find what he said, like, again, this is what I mean. It bamboozles me. Why he came out and said the only person standing in the way of Lisa's development is Lisa, and then plays her for 3 games. Why did you say it? I can't. The math ain't mathing. I can't work it out. What he's doing? Like, that's the thing you say, because you used to say about Vilda, oh, she's great. She just needs to do this, and then she'd only get a Conti Cup match. This one, he said something, and he's gone, oh, you can play the next 3 games though. Well, clearly I got out of my own way then, because now I'm playing. I don't even know if she knows what she's done. Nobody does. I'm so confused. It makes no sense. None. It's nonsense.
He's a bit like one of those like pull toys, isn't he? Where it says something, you have no idea what's about to happen.
It just says something mental, and it's like I don't know what he's doing. Like, I'm pleased she's playing. She's doing really well, but I mean, maybe look. We've always said, Ema, always that he watches this channel, and if he doesn't, he's got minions that pass it back to him. So it's no surprise to me that he didn't listen to us for the first half of the season. He listened all last season. He listened. Keep saying, Skinner, do this. I told him. I gave him the blueprint. Everybody here was calling for me to be the manager a couple of weeks ago. He listened. He did everything I asked him to do. We finished second. We nearly won. Like, it was so close. Pushed Chelsea to the end of it, and he's just ignored me for a while. You know. And now I think he's finally realised that, you know, coaching badges or not, I know better. I can't even keep a straight face on that one. Yeah, bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm glad she's in the team and doing well. Because as I said, we paid a fair amount of money for her, and obviously got injured in her first outing with us. But there's a good player in there. You know, I think as I brought the comment on screen a second ago, as you know, as San's saying, you know, gives us that energy in midfield. She's a real box, but she does not stop running, kind of helping out defensively and going forward. You know, as Charlie said earlier, kind of arriving late into the box, and you know, she's got a decent striker as well. You go back to the Villa game, the strike right at the end of the game. You know, if that goes in, that's an incredible strike. She had one in the first half that was potentially. Charlie, what are you looking at?
I'm just watching Barry make his concoction. Other brands are available.
Tizer in years. I've had Tizer a day.
Do you know what I think Lisa does provide, which is something we've been missing? I just think I think our midfielders all have something that they're particularly good at, and I think we have missed that box to box, that player that can progress the ball, not just through passing. Like Zelly's obviously a brilliant quarterback, isn't she? Makes wonderful through balls, but she's someone who can run and travel and progress the ball really, really well, that we've missed, and helps break up play really well. I think she's very good at that.
I think that's it. When you're looking at Tooney and Zell, they're not blessed with pace, so to speak. They're not. I guess when those two are playing, what I'm saying is that it's not the most mobile of midfield. Whereas you put Lisa in there, she covers the most ground. I'd be intrigued to see actually how much ground they cover, you know, between the three of them, because it did feel like, especially in the last couple of games, Lisa is everywhere when you're watching her. Like I said, we've been lacking that. I guess that progressive kind of through the midfield. We've been relying on Geyse a hell of a lot to drop into midfield to push us into the final third.
I think you're completely right. Like, that's what, like, Zellum can be so creative, but it relies so much on a link up for her, whereas Nelson can just create that progress by herself. I think also you mentioned before we went live, Connor, about shot power in our forwards. I think she's got a really decent shot on her. Obviously, we've not seen as much. We've not really seen goals come from it yet, but she had one blocked by Torres Dotter yesterday. But I think she also she gives us that extra element in attack of the defense not quite knowing like where the threat's going to come from, because we've got that obvious like threat down the right that we talked about a lot. But I think she can make long range shots as well, from like sort of edge of the box, just outside the box. So I think that's a really good addition to our attack as well.
No, it certainly is. As I said, I think, yeah, I agree. She's got one hell of a shot on her. So hopefully we see it a bit more, because we get into the final third quite easily nowadays, but we don't seem to pull the trigger. We're like very scared of pulling the trigger from around the 18-yard box. It's almost like we have to get closer to the penalty spot almost for anyone to actually take a shot, which is a bit frustrating at times, certainly in the stands. Right, we'll come to player of the match then. So let's see what you guys are saying on this one, because I thought Nikita Parris might win this one, but it doesn't look like she's going to on this occasion. So I'll do it in reverse. Charlie, I'll come to you first on this one. Who would you have gone for and why?
I did go for, if we're allowed, I did vote. I voted for Geyse. I know Parris scored the goals, but I think Geyse made everything. Parris just had to be in the right place at the right time. And we're getting what we want, is that end product now. Playing the right ball at the right time, and players there anticipated it. Just incredibly exciting. I thought she was brilliant, and she just made mincemeat of the Brighton back line. So no one can stop her, which I love.
Cerys, who would you have gone for?
Am I allowed to copy Charlie? Well, not copy, because I would have said it if you went first. But the tradition in my family is score predictions and man of the match. You can't repeat it. So I'm used to that. But yeah, I would have gone Geyse as well. I thought she was excellent down the right. She's such a fantastic player to watch. And watching her drive Pattinson absolutely insane was really entertaining. And I think, like I said earlier, like her final ball into the box has come on so much as well. So yeah, Geyse for me as well.
Barry, for yourself?
I'm just replying to Charlie there. So I actually agreed with Charlie all the way up until she said Parris just had to be in the right place at the right time, as if that was.
I knew he was going to pick up on the word just. As soon as I said it, I didn't mean just.
That's what you said.
I know.
It's like, but
oh,
the reason why I pick it up is because it's a touchy subject. It caused all manner of dramas when we were talking about Player of the Month. I think that's an art in itself, getting yourself into that right position at the right time. But I did agree that I would have gone for Geyse because of just how dangerous she looked. She had a couple of chances as well, tested the goalkeeper, and I think she did absolutely brilliantly. All right, Roy Keane, who shook your cage? That's a job. That's a job. She's going to stand there, kick the ball in the back of the net. That's a job. What are you doing, blinking Roy Keane all of a sudden? Christ almighty. Yes, it is her job, and she's doing it well. Like I don't know if you know this, Vic, but actually, like Mary Earps saving it is just, that's her job. Ella Toon setting them up. That's her. They're all doing their job. They're playing football for a living, which is quite a cool thing, to be fair. Yeah. I think she really did. She was dangerous down that right. She absolutely terrorized their defense. And as a result, I think for me, I would have gone for Geyse. But, like, make no mistake about it, at the moment, Nikita Parris is just in ridiculous red-hot form. And that those two goals, absolutely massive. It's one thing to say that, Geyse did all the hard work and crossed it. But as we saw, Nikita Parris was the only person who was getting on the end of those balls and putting them in the back of the net. Like I say, my personal favourite, Katie Zellum, she couldn't do it. She didn't get in front of them. So, there we go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to make it. This is a while since we've had a full house of all saying the same. Because, I would have gone for, I have gone for Geyse as well. I keep saying that would have. Charlie's just picked me up on that. Yeah, no. Who I have gone for is Geyse because I don't think the goals happen. We certainly don't create the chances we do or did in the game without Geyse's ability to beat the fullback because we weren't getting that on the other side. And nearly all of our chances, yes, they came from a Geyse beating the fullback and putting some kind of cross into the middle. So, 100% Geyse on that one. Let me just see what the numbers were. Send the poll. if it's going to tell me. I've ended it and it's not come up, so I can't see it. Oh, there we go. Jake's 54, Parris 39, Blundell and Garcia both on 3. So
how many votes?
61.
Okay, so
So
over
what about
30 people playing that, which is good. We had over 60 watching all game. What I was going to say, though, is I think this is the biggest thing to come out of the match, is that we're now in a situation where top 3, which seemed a million miles away, is now tantalisingly close again. And a good result against Arsenal, a good end to the season, we could just sneak into that little 3rd position. And it's a very big if, but it's there. Beforehand, I think we're all sitting there going 3rd is gone. That little misstep from Arsenal and the fact that we've had that win, really, really good. So I think we're sort of sitting here now, and that's brilliant. We're in a good situation where we can look forward to what the end of the season might bring. Whereas, like I say, a couple of weeks ago, it wasn't looking quite so good. So for me, that's massive.
Yeah, we're still relying on Arsenal dropping another game somewhere, but as we've seen literally from this weekend, teams can drop up to Chelsea aside. I just think they're just going to win pretty much majority of their games. But, you know, Arsenal, City look pretty good at the moment as well, so it's tough to look past them. But who knows? As you said, we beat Arsenal on the 17th.
It's like Sesame Street here, isn't it? If we keep hard enough at the teams above, we've all learned now. We've learned this little northern saying. Like, every day's a school day. It's amazing.
100%. We will look forward to that one. Obviously, we've got Southampton first, so we'll be covering that later on in the week. Before we wrap up then, Cerys, where can people find your stuff? Because obviously you got your own platforms as well. If you want to give that a shout out, where people can find all of that lovely stuff.
Yeah, so my Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, Twitter, is on the screen. It's just really Cerys. And then me and my very good friend Angel have a podcast called She's Out of Your League, which is on Spotify. We're on Twitter as well as SOOYL Pod. And we have a blog as well, which is linked in that bio, where I occasionally write some match reports and some analysis on stuff like Mel Phillips leaving Brighton, things like that. The podcast will undoubtedly, because of me and Angel, have a fairly intense United Arsenal preview. So yeah, that should be fun if anyone wants to check that out.
Well, we shall look forward to that one as well. Very quick, I don't actually know. That's more of a... Does she? If she plays next week? I don't know, Barry. That's potentially a question. You're usually the stat person.
She's not far off tune, to be fair, so it really wouldn't surprise me. They were quite close together when they got the 100, and Zelen must have started all of the games that she has. To be fair, was it John Commode who said that?
Yes, I'm waiting for John to always put something on there.
To be honest, John Commode being wrong about a stat can't put it. Yeah, Vicky said it. There you go, so 148. So yeah, well be. There you go.
150 at the Emirates. Jeez, because. Yeah, we'll cover this on Friday, I'm sure, in the preview. But yeah, I think we might go probably a stronger lineup than people are expecting next weekend. Right, we shall wrap it up there. We'll be back, as I said, later on in the week for the Southampton preview, as we normally are. We're live in 10 minutes' time on the All for Women's Football channel. Come and follow us over there. It's Meg's turn in the hosting chair. If you want to come and talk about the Lionesses, which is what the topic of conversation is today, we're talking about future teams, obviously with Serena extended to 2027. We've all made a little team of what we hope to see the team like in 2027. So mine's going to shock a load of people because there's a lot of names. It's not going to happen. I've made a team that I expect to happen and what I want to happen. It's two completely different things. So we're talking about all that over there in literally 10 minutes' time. So come over to that channel and give us a watch on there. Twitter, TikTok, all of those things at All for United WFC. Liking the video, subscribe it. Thanks everyone for your comments. It's been another brilliant show. I've enjoyed this one as well. Barry's a bit too quick for me though on his punch. You might have to slow it down next time for the show, Barry, so I can keep up with your jokes in that one. Thanks to Charle Cerys as well. Give it your Monday evenings to hop on with us and talk about the game. We shall see you guys later on in the week.